You've done this. You've been right there, momentum building, things actually working, and something in you just stopped. Not because you failed. Not because something went wrong. Because something went right. And that scared you more than failure ever did. We talk about fear of failure constantly. It's everywhere. Every self-help book, every podcast, every motivational corner of the internet. But there's another fear. Quieter. Stranger. Infinitely more confusing. Because it doesn't show up when things are hard. It shows up when things are working. You get the opportunity and you don't reply. You build the momentum and then manufacture a crisis to derail it. You get close enough to actually touch the thing you've been working toward, and suddenly, you're tired, you're distracted, you have a reason, a very convincing reason, to slow down right now. From the outside, it looks like procrastination, like laziness, like a discipline problem. But it isn't any of those things. It's a protection mechanism. Sophisticated, unconscious, and completely logical to the part of your brain that's running it. The question is, what exactly is it protecting you from? What happens if you actually get everything you want? Most people have never seriously sat with that question. Because on the surface it seems obvious. If you get what you want, things are good. That's the whole point. But your subconscious isn't evaluating the dream. It's evaluating the consequences of the dream. And consequences are complicated. If you succeed, you become visible. Visibility invites criticism. Criticism, to a brain wired for social belonging, registers as a genuine threat. If you succeed, you leave people behind, or at least that's the fear. The friends who knew you before. The family whose understanding of you gets disrupted. The relationships that were calibrated to a version of you that no longer exists. If you succeed, you can no longer blame your circumstances. The gap between where you are and where you could be closes, and suddenly every future failure is unambiguously yours. That's terrifying in a way that's almost never named. Staying stuck has one enormous hidden benefit. It keeps the story open. It keeps the potential intact. The person who never fully tries never fully fails. And in some deeply human way, unrealized potential feels safer than tested and found wanting. Here's the one that lands hardest when people hear it. Your sense of self was built around a specific set of circumstances. Struggles, limitations, a particular narrative about who you are and what you're capable of. And somewhere in that construction, quietly, without your permission, the struggle became part of the identity. The person who is trying to make it. The person who is working on something. The underdog. The one with potential. The one who is going to do something great someday. That identity is comfortable. It has a story. It has community. There are people in your life who relate to you through that version of you. Success doesn't just change your bank account or your schedule. It changes who you are in relation to other people. And the subconscious treats that identity death like an actual threat. Because in evolutionary terms, being exiled from your group was a death sentence. The brain doesn't distinguish cleanly between social exile and physical danger. So it protects you. It keeps you right at the edge of the thing, close enough to feel like progress, never close enough to trigger the identity collapse that comes with actually arriving. You're not sabotaging your dreams. You're protecting a self that doesn't know it's safe to change. The sabotage is rarely obvious. It's almost never the dramatic kind. Here's what it actually looks like. Perpetual preparation. You keep learning, planning, refining, and somehow the moment to launch never quite arrives. The research phase becomes permanent. The preparation is flawless. The beginning never happens. Strategic overwhelm. Just as things gain momentum, life gets suddenly genuinely complicated. A relationship problem, a health scare, a family obligation. Some of it is real, but the timing, right as something was working, is worth examining. Invisible goal shifting. You achieve one target and immediately decide it wasn't the real goal. The goalposts move. The success that happened doesn't count because you've already reframed it as insufficient. The finish line is always 10 yards further than where you stand. Relationship disruption. Right when external life starts aligning, internal relationships destabilize. Drama, conflict, crises that pull focus. The chaos outside mirrors the discomfort inside and keeps you occupied with everything except the thing that was starting to work. The comparison spiral. Success starts to feel real, and suddenly you're deep in someone else's highlight reel at 11 p.m. Not for inspiration. For evidence that you're behind, that it doesn't count, that someone else is doing it better. The spiral stops the momentum without ever taking visible responsibility for stopping it. Recognize any of these? Your subconscious is not working against you. That's crucial to understand. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Keep you safe, keep you belonging, keep you consistent with the model of yourself it has spent decades building. The problem is that the model is outdated. It was built by a younger version of you in different circumstances with different information. It was built when playing small was genuinely safer, when standing out had real social consequences, when the environment around you rewarded a certain ceiling and punished exceeding it. That environment may not exist anymore, but the programming does. So when you get close to the life you actually want, your nervous system fires the same alarm it learned to fire years ago. Danger. Retreat. Get back to familiar ground. And because it doesn't announce itself as fear, it comes dressed as logic. Now isn't the right time. I need to be more prepared. There are a few things I should fix first. Maybe I'm aiming too high. Every single one of those thoughts feels reasonable. Every one of them is your nervous system trying to take you home, to the version of life it knows how to navigate. The work isn't to silence those thoughts. It's to hear them, understand where they came from, and choose to move anyway. The solution is not to become fearless. That's a fantasy, and anyone selling it is lying to you. The solution is to build a more accurate picture of what success actually costs, and realize you can afford it. Start by asking the question your subconscious is already asking. What am I actually afraid will happen if this works? Write it down. Literally write it. The fears that live in the abstract are paralyzing. The fears you put into sentences are manageable. 9 times out of 10, what your brain has been catastrophizing in the background is far less dangerous when it's sitting in plain English on a piece of paper. Second, renegotiate your relationship with visibility. Criticism from people who haven't done the thing you're doing is information, not verdict. The discomfort of being seen is a price. Pay it consciously rather than unconsciously avoiding the entire transaction. Third, update the identity deliberately. Start telling a new story about who you are. Not to anyone else, just to yourself in private. The things you repeat internally become the architecture of your behavior over time. Stop rehearsing the struggle. Start rehearsing arrival, not as delusion as practice. And when the sabotage comes, because it will come even as you're doing all of this, don't treat it as evidence that you're broken. Treat it as evidence that you're close. The closer you get, the louder it gets. That's not a stop sign. That's the signal. The life you want isn't being kept from you by your circumstances. It isn't locked behind a skill you haven't developed, or a connection you haven't made, or a market condition that hasn't aligned. It's being held at arm's length by a version of you that learned, in a very specific time and place for very specific reasons, that wanting too much was dangerous. That being too visible was risky. That getting close enough to fail completely was worse than never fully trying. That version of you did something remarkable. It kept you safe when safety mattered. But you're not in that place anymore. And the version of you that needed those protections? It doesn't get to decide what's possible from here. The fear of success is real. It is deep. It is not a character flaw. It is a deeply human response to the genuine uncertainty that comes with change. But uncertainty is the only door success walks through. And somewhere on the other side of the thing you keep stopping yourself from finishing, there is a version of your life that has been waiting patiently for you to stop protecting yourself from it. You already know what it is. Now you know why you've been stopping. That's enough to change everything. Self-sabotage isn't weakness. It's misplaced intelligence. And the moment you understand what it's actually doing, the grip it has on you starts to loosen. One question for the comments. Where in your life right now are you closest to the thing you keep stopping? You don't have to explain it. Just name it. I read every one.